I'm going to go ahead and record that. So welcome everyone. I wanted to share this. Now, for those who are just joining us, we've been discussing, this is crazy. If you look at this on my left-hand side, this is all the slides and everything that we've gone through for probably the last 6-7 weeks about listings and getting listings. So there's plenty in here. Don't worry if you miss some of it. I will probably be doing this at Summit and teaching this a little bit more at Summit as well. And let me find where we were at. So I'm going to go right there. So let me go slideshow from here from, well, beginning, but that's going to take too long. But so let me move that way and move that way and go through. I don't know why it just would have been there. But anyway, this is all the stuff that we talked about. So there's a fun stuff. All right. So today, guys, what we're going to talk about today is the importance of what I would say kind of educating and knowing some numbers. I was able to listen to a couple things from Jared James and Jimmy from Curator the last couple of days. And they've given us some other tidbits and some stuff that I'm going to share with you guys of what they've actually shared, which is wonderful. But we need to understand and educate the sellers, because when we go into a listing presentation, a lot of times, what do they think? They're thinking that the market's hot. I'm going to get like super over asking price. There's going to be multiple buyers. My neighbor's house sold for $1 billion more than I ever thought my house would be. So, but my house is so much nicer than their house. So I should get another $2 billion over their price. And so it becomes to a point where now, how do you educate them and see, okay, can you send me the log to the Zoom? Let's see. I think, somebody put that in the chat if anybody's got that while I'm talking. So Allie, if you've got that little link maybe for the training, if you could drop that into the chat, that would be great. If somebody could help me out on that, or just somebody can pop that in, because I think I'll have to unshare my screen and go back, I believe, if I do that. So anyway, so we need to educate our sellers. So let's say that we walk in and they go, hey, I really want to get X amount of more dollars. What do you think? And so I want to share with you guys some new statistics that are kind of coming up on this. And we need to let them know, because guys, anybody know what the United States average of down payment is? What would you guys be your guess of your average down payment that somebody is using for the down payment? 15, 10, 5. Allie just deals with cash buyers only, so that's good. So
I wish.
it would be nice. The average is 12%. And so a lot of times people will think, and I want you guys to think about doing maybe some videos or some posts or something, and letting people understand that it doesn't take a ton of money. A lot of first-time home buyers think that they need to have 25% plus all this extra money to purchase, a house. They need to understand that there are ways around that to be lower. But I think this was real interesting that Redfin came out with that 40% of homes in the last 12 months have sold over asking. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want the bidding war. I want the bidding war. Give me the bidding war. Now I can make a bidding war. We all can do that. We can just, put the house on the market for a lot less and kind of see what happens. But I always share with them, I say, look, we could go for the $399. I think that we probably could get $425 for your house. But if you want the bidding war, we could go $399. But I want to tell you right now that, Tim, if we do the $399, you need to be really happy if you only get one offer at $399. And that's usually how I sell that, because if you don't say that verbiage and they think they're going to get it and they only get $399, guess what? Then they're super disappointed. And now they're like, well, maybe I should have asked, and now I don't want to sell my house at the $399 because I wanted $425. So it gets a little bit dicey there. But it's interesting when people think that, hey, and look at the reverse roll on this, that the average sold price to list price was 100.3. But look at this right here, is because if you say, well, Mrs. Seller, Mr. Seller, that 6 out of 10 homes did not sell over the asking price. So you kind of have to let them know, and it kind of changes this whole mentality of thinking of maybe the market might be changing. Maybe we shouldn't feel that we're going to have this, or educate them a little bit that 60% of them didn't sell over asking. So a lot of times buyers get really discouraged too, and thinking, I don't want to get in a bidding war. How many of you guys had that? I don't want to get in a bidding war. There's another offer already on the table. I'm out. It's like, and it's just so frustrating, because I'm thinking that why would you want to be out when you don't even, if you
It's
would
a thing Kim wants me to watch. She watches it every Friday.
So you don't even get even an opportunity to even do that, to be even in the game. And so it really just, and I try to educate my buyers and say, look, in today's world, you most likely, if it's a house in your price range or a house that you're liking, there's going to be several other buyers that are looking for the home in that range. So maybe you'll just be prepared. You're probably going to be competing against another offer all the time. And that's just what's going to happen. And so we can chat a little bit about that, I think, at the end of what we're going to chat, and maybe next week, in regards to what you can do to generate the best opportunity to get your offer accepted. So you want to educate your sellers and say, look, it may not happen, but there's a possibility. So you guys are welcome to take some screenshots of these. These are some examples. These are coming from right out of Jared James in the last couple of weeks of his training that I do. So this is some examples that you can actually utilize to get more listings. So the subject lines are super important. So here's a subject line that you might be sitting on $57,000 or more, because of the national average. This is the number. I've seen 57, I've seen 59, I've seen 75, in California. In the last year of what money's actually and what equity that people have actually done. So go, hey, Eric, did you know, according to CoreLogic, that the average home value increased in the last year over 18.5% and gained over 57,000 equity? That's some serious dough. With real estate being so local, though, you might be wondering how this relates to our local marketplace and what kind of equity you might be sitting on. For that reason, I've carved out some time on my schedule this week to do nothing more than to give my top people the most accurate value. Sorry, letting somebody else in. Most accurate value of their home in current moment, but I'm prioritizing them on the first come first basis. Now, this is where it's like scarcity, and you want to give them a call to action to come like now. If you are all curious about the value of your home and how your equity might have your number one asset you'll ever own, then reply as soon as possible with your address to ensure your spot on the top of the list. And then you put your name. P.S. If you're thinking of selling the next few months, make sure to tell me, that I'll get your value within 24 hours guaranteed. So these are just some small posts. These are some small emails. I don't know what we talked about it in the previous classes, where you have a database. Some people call it a data bank, because you guys, and it was interesting that Jared shared yesterday that he was sharing in his little podcast that he was saying that if you've got like 10,000 people in your database, he says that should be about 100 people that will be moving the next 12 months that are sitting in that database. And if we're not in the top of mind awareness on that and continue just to like pound and send some stuff to these individual people, they're going to turn and look at a sign, an ad, a Yelp, a Google, or whatever they're going to find, and they're not going to remember who you were, who we were, if we're not in the top of mind awareness. So continue to send these, continue to ask them for the business on that. So that's one. So if you've got the screenshot on that one, we'll go to two. This one was subject. Wow, who knew that Zillow could be so off? How many people would open their email if they saw that in the subject line? I would. It's like, because so many people think that Zillow is what it is. So, hey, Eric, the market is crazy right now, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. In fact, did you know that the former CEO of Zillow sold his home for more than 40% less than his estimate? Who knew that Zillow was so inaccurate? Here's the good news. If you or a friend want to know the true value of your home or your house or a house that they are considering buying, just reply to this email with the address, and I'll get you to know that what it's really worth. I'm standing and by and ready to go. So you guys can take that picture. So that's another one that you guys can throw down. Number three, you won't believe this. Now, I'd probably open that one too. Hey, Eric, you won't believe this, but I've got your buyers looking for a home in the area that are ready, willing, and able to go, but unfortunately, due to extremely low inventory, there's been able to find them anything. And that's why I'm reaching out to you. Can you do me a favor? And if you or anyone you know is even considering selling, please let them know right away. I might be able to sell their home or house. Their house now without even hitting the market. Now, this is that keyword, those who are just joining us for the first time today. That last sentence right there we've been using that, memorize that, because that is absolutely something that is what we're using on a lot of other posts that we had. We had some Instagram posts that we trained about. We had some stories that we trained about, and some things of that nature. So utilize that, because that is important there as well. All right, you guys probably have screenshot that one, and then we'll go to 4. I'm here to solve the dilemma you might have. I don't see Sarah on here yet, but Sarah was dealing with some appraisal concerns, which we're going to share a little bit. And hopefully she jumps on, because I have some things for her on the bottom end of this training. But my thought, and I told her last night, I said, look, guys, if we don't have problems, or we don't have dilemmas, we don't have issues or concerns in our escrows, we wouldn't have a job. So just I know it's stressful, and there's a lot of things that we do and we have to do. My assistant, she's always wondering, it's like, wow, you're like a therapist, you're like an acting kind of, not that we're giving legal advice, but almost like they're asking you attorney type questions. You're helping them through marriage counseling. We're all these things above, doing all this stuff because we're solving problems. So here, because you may or may not know, we have a serious inventory problem here in the area. More importantly, it may be causing a dilemma for you or someone that you know. Somebody else in, Travis Smith. Welcome, Travis. What is that dilemma? You may want to be selling, but are unsure that you can find another house worthy of moving into. For that reason, I've decided to offer my services for free of charge. Obviously, there always kind of are, to keep an eye out for you and what you might be looking for, which includes notifying you of off-market properties when they are brought to my attention. I only do this for my top clients, so please reply to this email with your needs as soon as possible to reserve your spot. So again, we're making scarcity, and you're wanting them to jump and come on like right away and get that. So those who are just joining us, I am recording this, so we will have this on my YouTube channel on that, because we've just gone through 4 examples of some emails that you guys can actually send out to individual people. So one of the other things that I want to encourage that Jerry James really teaches really well, and I love it, and it's Google Earth. A lot of times, guys, I'm telling you that those who take floor time, I think floor time could be extremely boring. I think if you're not doing the right things, because sometimes people just don't come in. If you're coming in the office, I really encourage those people. The top producing agents are coming in the office, whether they have a client or not. They're coming into the office in the morning, treating it a business, and just being there and getting started. So I would encourage you, if you are on floor time, instead of like waiting for other individual people to come in, and then you say, well, so many times I'll walk out of floor time and I'll go, well, that was a waste of 4 hours, because or 3 hours, and nobody came in. But then you got to change the mentality of that and look at it and say, what can you do during those 4 hours? And I would highly recommend that you're doing, and we discussed, I think last 2 weeks ago, we discussed Greg Harrelson's training a C21 owner about prospecting, that they get everybody in together every 2 hours in the morning from 8 to 10. They're doing prospecting and they're doing phone calls. So here's an idea for those people who want to use the Google Earth. As you go onto Google Earth and you just type in the address. So here we are, 12177 Elm Court. And if you're on Google Earth, guys, you guys can move it around. You can talk about it. But I want you guys to do, and Jared James pushes this, whether it's Zoom, whether it's BombBomb, you do a share recording, and you sit there and you're recording and you're live on their screen, and you're actually talking about the value. You're talking about what maybe Zillow has on the market. You're talking about the scripts that we just talked about on the emails above, and just saying, are you aware what's going on with the market, that we had about a 19 to 20% increase in value. And I'm just taking today to send out some information about your value of your home, and you can kind of share a little bit. It's like doing a little mini CMA, but you're recording it. They can see your face, because this is your little screen. I use BombBomb, and my face is sitting up here, right here. And the nice thing about this is they're not really focusing on me. Some people might go, well, I don't really want them to see me, but guys, we can't change the way we look. So this is the way we look. This is the way we sound. This is the way we talk. So, and I love doing the screen recording. When it's not on screen recording, my whole face is on this whole full on big old thing, just like it is today. But when you're doing screen recording, I think it's a little bit nicer, because they're actually focusing on what I'm showing them. So you're going through and showing them the house and kind of circling around their home and their area, and you're discussing what the value of their home is. So basically what you're doing is that they're encouraging Jared's encouraging to do this 5 people a day for a couple weeks, and then see what type of results that come with it. And you're just doing a little mini CMA if you know your area really well, and you could actually pinpoint this because if you don't want to spend too much time like pulling up comparables, so if you can kind of do a couple of your neighbors' houses kind of close or the same size houses in the similar neighborhoods, you could be utilizing the same data and the same houses that are for sale. I would go one step further and I would bring in my cloud CMA, and I would actually share my cloud CMA with them and show kind of some pictures of some other homes by using the Google Earth and showing them their home. So you can kind of get a feel. So they're actually seeing, wow, Eric's actually looking at my house, showing me the area, and being personal by doing a face recognition there. So, and this could be good, could go really well, guys, for people that maybe of those who have been here and sold houses like 10, 15 years ago, and you haven't really reached out to those clients. Go back to 5 years ago and 7 years ago, and actually take that and go back to those clients and just say, just want to check in with you, and Google Earth their own particular house, because they're going to recognize who you are, and they'll open that email because they're actually going to see your face, and they're going to want to know what you have to say. And I keyword here, guys, is that you can use your portfolio or you can put your house. And I think Jared loves to do the portfolio because that means it gives them like understanding that you don't need just to buy one house, buy 2, buy 3, buy 4. So what is your house worth? And so I thought that Google thing was pretty good. They wanted to do a 5 days from your database on that. So on a class here, that how many of you guys are having an issue where people don't want to sell their home because they're afraid they're going to be homeless because they can't find another house to move into? There's some yeses, that's what happens. And so I always like to go in and tell people and say, guys, my job is not to make you homeless. I've never sold a house and had my people not be able to move into another home or have a house that they're moving into. And so just a pro tip, I did one time had sold a home, and they were moving local in the neighborhood. And I probably went a little too fast and did not put enough release like contingencies in there for the sale of their home, because I thought, well, they're double ending this home over here. And I totally knew that I could handle everything that might come up. But then I sold their home kind of from underneath them on this side by not giving enough time to maybe go through the inspections on that other home. And there was some issues that came up. So we kind of were stuck. Well, we had to go all in. Well, the seller took care of everything because I knew they would, but just keep that in mind that you just don't want to. So I always tell my seller, I said, just wanted to say, Mr. Seller, my job is not to make you homeless. So, whatever we're going to do here, we have plenty of contingencies, and just keep in mind that the contingencies is you don't want to release, you don't want to sell their home and then go do their inspections like I just shared and have a problem with their house falling off a cliff. And now all of a sudden they just sold their home, and now they're going to have to move, and they just have to go find a rental or go move into a fifth wheel or something crazy and not have a house to go to. So make sure you leave enough time there to like say, okay, we're going to wait till we do our inspections on this other time, on the other home, and then you can then release your contingencies. And I tell my sellers all the time that you're welcome. It's your party, it's your show. If we get a buyer and they're not willing to wait, then we'll say goodbye to that buyer and we'll go find a different one. But let me share something that Jimmy over in Curator actually gave. And guys, I need to type this. I was listening to this last night, so I didn't get a chance to write this. And so when I'll put this together and maybe send this out. But this is a letter that he was going to mention. Now you guys are going to have to go in and find the days when you send this of like how many days of that it takes your buyers, your average buyer. So go back in the last 12, 14 months, 12 months, and actually go find all your buyers and calculate kind of an average day since the day that you met them, the day that you might have signed a broker buyer agreement. And then in this, because I'm going to say 121 days is Jimmy's example. So in the subject line, it says 121 days. I would probably read that. So if your day is 100 days or 90 days since the first day you started on average, put that day in there. He says, let me guess, you haven't listed your home because you have been stuck, unable to find your next home. And this would be letters that I would send out. I've got a couple hundred seller potential leads that are sitting in there waiting, just either timing wise or whatever they might do. So let me guess, you haven't listed your home because you have been stuck, unable to find your next home. I want to take a moment to share some information that can help ease that stress. In the last 12 months, we were able to help 80 families. That was his example. If it's 13 families, 6 families, whatever it might be, but to buy their next home. And on average, after we signed the buyer agency agreement and closing on their new home, it took 121 days. So yes, you can buy a home in today's market, but if you have to write contingencies to sell your home before you can buy your new home, you have little or no chance in getting that the seller accepted your offer. Buying and selling at the same time is scary, it's stressful, and it's emotional, and we get it. That is what we do every day. We can put you in the best position possible to make the right move. If this email struck a chord with you, I would love to chat. Give me a call. And so I thought that was another one that I'll put together, and didn't have a chance to type it this morning before, but I love that, those letters of just letting them know, guys, that you've done this before. You understand that. I love going in and a seller says, Eric, we trust you. What do you want us to do here? What do you want us to sell this price? What do you want us to do on this counter offer? I've got 2 sellers right now that I'm basically, and I'm using BombBomb, and I go in and I'll share and I'll go over their disclosures with them. I'll go over their offer with them, because you always do, but they'll just say, what do you want to do? Because, they're asking me, what do you want to counter with? And then I'll get them a net sheet. I say, are you happy with this number? Yeah, I like the number. Or maybe I want a little bit more. So they're basically just relying on me going, man, that number looks pretty good. I'm good to go. So good. I'll just send it for you to sign. So it's like, once you build that trust, they're there, but you just want to educate them and help them the whole way. So there are people out there that are scared to list their home. So if anybody has anything you want to chat or put in the chat that helps, that you want to say anything, feel free. That might help you. That's something that you've used in the past to get a seller off the fence, to get that inventory on the market to move. Because there's really 2 choices. And if anybody has anything, I'll wait for a second, pause. You may want to unmute. If anybody has anything, you're welcome to. But there's 2 choices here, guys, and I'm listing another home this week that I told them, I said, look, do you see houses out there that kind of look appealing to you in your price range and price points that you want to go buy? They said, there's not a lot of inventory out there, but there's a few of them out there that I might like. And I said, great. But the deal is, if you go in right now and put an offer on that particular house, contingent upon the sale of your home, and you're competing in today's market, there's just no chance. So we have to do a reverse contingency, put your home on the market, look for a buyer who's willing to give you the time to find another home. And guys, it's working. It's worked really well. And people just need to understand that you can do that. I've got stories galore of just that happening. I even got a house actually accepted with a contingent offer the other day over a multiple offer situation. Price was a factor, yes, but it was a Bay Area home that we were able to sell it to that agent. Lender called, I called, everyone called, the agent called. We nailed it down to make them feel comfortable to be able to choose us, and everything's working out. They sold the house in 3 days, multiple offers on their home, and now we close escrow next week. So it does happen, but it's a rarity. So that is kind of where we're at today. I don't see Sarah. Sarah, you're not on here yet, right? So I will share a little bit about this because she'll probably catch in on this, but Sarah has a home that we were talking about last night that did not appraise. What do you guys do if you guys want to share? If the house doesn't appraise, is that happening to you guys right now? Does that exist?
I've been pretty lucky, thankfully.
Yeah, well, I think we got real lucky, Allie, on the one we just closed. I mean,
Agreed.
Yes, it was. It needed a lot of deferred love maintenance, but so Sarah's got one that just came in that was $50,000 less. And this started happening at about 2 years ago. We had a few more of these situations when the prices just skyrocketed so fast that the appraisals had to catch up. I feel that we're actually catching up with the appraisals right now, and they're, or the price and the appraisals are catching up to some pricing. But what there's some options here that you want to do is that, number one, it depends if they're coming in like on that average of 12%. If they're doing a 3% down payment or 5%. If it's FHA or VA, you guys all know that there's that addendum that's in there that says if it doesn't appraise at that value, then you're dead in the water. You just can't move. And so sometimes the seller might come back and go, well, I'll be willing to help. Maybe the seller comes and reduces it down to the price of the appraisal, and then you're all good. That doesn't happen that often, especially in today's market. But if it does, and the seller's willing to do that, that's fantastic and great. You guys will realize that sometimes people are offering, I offered on a house that we're hoping to get accepted this morning, $130,000 over asking. Of course, it's 1.5 million, but it's $130,000 over asking, and thinking, can we get that appraisal? But and oftentimes when that happens and the appraisal comes in 50 grand under, but then the seller already gained, 80, 90 grand extra, then that's usually not a problem for the seller to come back and say, I'll come down and match that appraised value. Let's go ahead and get it closed. But as I mentioned, if they come in at 3% or 5%, there's just no way they're going to be able to do it because they're not strong enough. But keep in mind, though, that you need to ask this question. If you get a buyer that contacts you on one of your houses and says the appraisal came in low, you ask for the copy of the appraisal, you get the copy and you kind of review it. And then you want to ask a question for them. Will the lender allow this to close with the current appraisal? Because a lot of times people actually forget to ask that. Just because it appraised less doesn't mean the lender won't go ahead and close. If that buyer has 50% down, 40% down, 60% down, that lender is probably going to be, say, yeah, I'll let this close if the buyer's willing to do it and is okay with it. So then there's two things. Is the lender okay? And is the buyer okay? Most buyers, if they really, really want the home, they were willing to pay extra or over the asking price anyway. So most of the time they will, but usually when that appraisal comes in low, then they start getting mixed feelings, thinking, well, do I really want to pay extra money for a house that doesn't really appraise? And guys, my opinion on appraisals is that you could have 2-3 different appraisers come and you could have a huge swing going $20,000-$30,000 each direction. So sometimes you just have to lose that buyer and get a different buyer, because I got another buyer a couple of years ago and we went over closing costs and over that asking by $40,000 more than the low appraisal. It took us 2 extra months to get it closed, but they actually got that appraisal and it appraised at the value that we were asking, and the seller was happy. But he wasn't happy when the appraisal came in low because we felt the appraisal was kind of a horrible appraisal. So if this buyer is willing, if the lender is willing to close and the buyer is willing to close, then go ahead and close. But sometimes the buyer wants to move, change that. So I try to make it a win-win by, hey, seller, will you come down a little bit? Buyer, will you come up a little bit? Can you make up the difference? Because sometimes if you only have a 3% down percent buyer, the only chance to get this down is to have the seller to bring it down, because the reason why the buyer's coming in with 3% down is because they just don't have any additional monies and funds. So people ask me all the time, can I go back and tell the appraisal that he was wrong? We had an appraiser came and chatted with us at a tour the other day, and he said, please never come to me and say that you appraised this incorrectly, because it's a value of opinion. You can look at the comps and stuff, but there's really just not a lot that you can do. I've been able to get a second appraisal, just keep pushing it really hard with that lender and say, no, I'm sorry, we need to get a different appraisal. If you feel super strongly that there's no way this appraiser appraised it properly, or they were an outside area appraiser and you just felt that this was just not good. Because sometimes if the buyer recognizes that the appraisal was really low and they look at the comps that were given and they're kind of debating that too, just push it. And I've got got them to go get us another appraisal. That does not work really well on some FHA and VA kind of transactions, but you can do that. So anybody else have any thoughts or questions about if your house doesn't appraise?
Oh, on the other end of that, it's kind of helped out as a buyer. I know once or twice, we were looking at a home that we didn't think, we're like, they might not appraise for that much. So in our offer, my buyer had extra cash, and we put in that we would cover up to, 10 or 15,000 of appraisal cost differences if the appraisal comes in lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, because that's if you are competing against a lot of people, and people use that a little bit. Say, hey, we'll pay $5,000 over, the appraised value at this price. It makes the seller feel better. So run those numbers by, or run that little idea by. Sometimes the the selling agent, because that, I've done things where we'll do $1,000 over the top offer, but up to $500,000. And I didn't get one of those accepted because the elderly sellers didn't quite understand, and they didn't like to, the way that it was worded, I guess. So, but I agree that there are some people. So the seller, if that is selling agent says, hey, we're concerned about the appraised value as well. And then Allie comes in with some verbiage like that of at least I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars more, then it caps it, because then it helps. But don't ever put yourself in a situation where it's an unwritten check. I had one the other day that was weird. The seller came back and countered that we don't have our true up from our solar yet. So buyer, you'll be responsible for it. It was kind of like, that's a blank check. How do I do that? How do I totally go and say, and it was a huge house. And so I don't know what the true up's going to be. That could be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So, and so that those are type of things that you'll need to put. And that's when I would use Allie's verbiage. I'll say, sure, we'll do the true up not to exceed $2,000, just so there's a cap somewhere on it. Outstanding. I think, guys, we'll probably do one more class, maybe two, about getting more listings. The more I keep going out and finding more ideas, we'll just keep going with it. But if you guys are wanting some other subject, then please, let us know. There's going to be some great classes. Jody was talking to me the other day about classes and what we're going to be doing up there in the training at the summit. So feel free, guys, if you aren't in the summit, please, come. You guys will not be disappointed. It's absolutely stunning and amazing. If anybody wants to stay on a little longer, I could go back up top a little bit and go through some of the things that maybe you missed. If those who came on a little bit late want to take a couple screenshots of these three or four examples of some emails, you guys are welcome to do that as well. So anybody have any other additional questions or thoughts?
Appreciate you doing the training, Eric, while you're on vacation.
Thank you. We're from Salt Lake City, live from Salt Lake City today. Beautiful wallpaper. That is not my background I would have chosen.
It didn't seem like it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But there's that one if somebody wants to grab this. And again, this will be on my YouTube channels, guys. They're the last, I probably have 50, 60 trainings on all subjects that we're going to probably start rotating back in on some of those. So you can grab a couple more pictures of these. And we got another one there.
Thank you so much for the samples, Eric. They help a lot.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and Veronica, I'll go up and I'll show you a couple more samples.
Okay.
And I'll go up here because there was some that we really liked. That I want this. We went through optimization and all sorts of fun stuff there with social media. But let me give you a couple other tidbits that were. Wow, we've done a lot. This was we talked about doing questions. Have you thought any thoughts of selling? Are you living in your dream home? So this was a nice Instagram. So if somebody said, no, I'm thinking about selling, well, you can get a couple leads, but you can keep putting these on your Facebook stories because they disappear all the time. So you can put this on once a week. And this is a pro tip for those who are just joining us as well and haven't been on before. I actually put, sold or purchased by Eric Hatch. If you guys get your normal typical sold sign, like right here, if she was sitting in the front of this house with just sold and she posted that with me, I don't know who that kid is. I don't know who that is. Like if she just put that with that, sometimes you don't even get to put a picture of you in it because there's only you and the sellers or the buyer, and then you're taking a picture. Like down here on the bottom right, that just says I didn't have anybody to take the photo for me. I could have put a tripod, but so now if they posted that to their friends or something, it's like it has my name in it. So just heads up, I always like to have my name in it. So if they ever post it, and you guys have your names in it as well. But that was doing poll questions was great. This was like some samples. This was something that we've used a lot on a scale to 1 to 10. How likely would you be to sell your house if I brought you the right buyer at the right price? So that was one that if you guys want to screenshot that one or write that one down. There was yeah, what's the one thing your house that has that your other one doesn't? So that was a nice one there. Got some chats. What do I got? Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for putting in the Allie for putting in that there. Let's see. We've got Facebook. Oh yeah, these are just some quotes. We talked about doing some circle prospecting letters. I do have some letters that we actually had that were on a link, but I don't have them actually in here. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing this class again on up there in Summit. So if you guys want to come, we'd be happy to have you on that. So Brent, can you hold for a quick second?
Sure.
Be right with you. Thank you. All right, so I got a call, guys. All right, guys, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you at the Summit, guys. We'll see you next Friday.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Probably gonna go really fast. Like our biggest answer is gonna be where we're gonna live until